Good morning. Thank you all for being here, braving the heat and the smoke to join with us here this morning. All right, let's. How about now? Ooh, okay. Feels like it's right in my eyeball. Let's see if I can get it a little bit lower. Nope, we're still good. All right. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So, I'm going to be honest. I had a little bit of a hard time preparing this. Usually, I've got at least an idea of what I'm going to say, and month and a half ago when I agreed to do this, I was like, yes, this is so exciting. I, you know, my understanding of things has evolved so many times in my life. And yet when I sat down and tried to think of some of them, you know, and what I realized is that, my understanding may evolve, but in doing so, we forget. Like I know what my understanding is today, but I don't know what it was before because I've left that behind. So I thought that was interesting. Um, in kind of looking around on this, I came across some interesting writing about the idea of understanding or the power of understanding as we embrace it here at Unity. Um, Somebody said there are two ways of getting or obtaining understanding. One is by following the guidance of spirit that dwells within. The other is to go blindly ahead and learn by hard experience. And I think I've done both of those. So Charles Fillmore, um, in the Revealing Word, defines understanding as our ability to know, perceive, and apprehend. Um, and I found this beautiful passage from this is from a book by Winifred Wilkinson Hausman. This was on the unity.org website talking about this power. Um, and one of the representatives being the disciple Thomas, where she says Thomas didn't always have spiritual understanding, but he wanted to learn. He didn't mind asking questions and listen to Jesus' answers. Thomas is probably best known for doubting the news of the resurrection when he heard it secondhand from the other disciples. Jesus respected Thomas's need to know firsthand. Um, I thought that was, um, you know, particularly informative, for me, kind of wrapping my head around how this, relates to us as an ascended ability, something a little bit bigger than our, kind of intellectual understanding of things. Um, not necessarily accepting things at face value or from secondhand information. Um, so I kind of came to this definition, a hybrid of these kind of being our ability and desire to see beyond what things appear to be in order to really know the truth. And where does evolution fit in? Um, I, um, most of us are familiar with kind of the scientific definition of evolution being, incremental changes to a species from generation to generation over years. Um, if I'm seeking to evolve my understanding, I don't have that kind of time. So I uh, I went where I always go. I went to A Course in Miracles to find some wisdom around the idea or the definition of evolution. And in A Course in Miracles, it says evolution is a process in which you seem to proceed from one degree to the next. You correct your previous missteps by stepping forward. This process is actually incomprehensible in temporal terms because you return as you go forward. The idea being that when something in us, in our spiritual understanding, in our divine wisdom, when that evolves, it does so instantaneously. Stand here the same person that I was a second ago, but with a different understanding of something. Um, thought that was really powerful to, that the contrast of hundreds of years or thousands of years for incremental change, whereas our understanding may evolve in less than a second in, you know, an incomprehensibly small amount of time. Something occurred to me as I was kind of trying to get into this. Um, you know, as I was thinking about my pursuit of truth and my spiritual development and my intellectual life and my traversing this world in general. But right now, the pursuit of truth may be as important as it's ever been in my lifetime. Um, the technology of this age allows for the sharing of information and ideas at nearly instantaneous speeds. And there are those among us who seem to be trafficking in division, dishonesty, and manipulation, exploitation, and they become very adept at using these tools to spread messages of fear and hate. And so as I consume information and ideas, um, my ability to see beyond what things appear to be and know what's true uh, couldn't be more important. Um, as I was thinking about this, I really, um, you know, kind of what I wanted to share today. Um, I like a step-by-step approach, I guess. That's what I discovered is, um, when I'm learning something or when I'm teaching something or when I'm talking about, how do I do something? I like steps. Maybe it's the engineer, maybe it's, I don't know, but so this is my what 8-step plan to evolving my understanding. Well, I wanted to get through this so we could get downstairs where it's cooler. So step one is I need to make a conscious choice to learn truth. Um, I found this in A Course in Miracles. It says, ask and it shall be given to you because it has already been given. Ask for light and learn that you are light. If you want understanding and enlightenment, you will learn it because your decision to learn it is the decision to listen to the teacher who knows of light and can therefore teach it to you. The willingness, the conscious decision, the desire to know and to learn is the first and most important. Um, the next thing that I find that I do uh, is to look inward. Um, here at Unity, we know that each of us has a divine connection within us, that spark of divine energy, of life. In order to access my ability to know truth, I have to line my thinking mind up with that divine peace, that divine connection. I do this by using my daily practice of meditation and prayer to facilitate that connection. Um, you know, we all know at this point that that Therese is growing into a new role as the head of the youth education here, and as part of that, she's been starting some Unity SEE a class, and she was gracious enough to share with me some writing that she did, and she gave me permission to share it with you. Um, that it kind of speaks to this idea of looking within. So she said, I cannot change my inner landscape if it remains hidden from me. In the book Discover the Power Within You by Eric Butterworth, the prologue speaks of an old Hindu legend about how humans are aware of their divinity, were aware of their divinity, but it was abused. The gods took their divinity. There was much debate about where the divinity should be hidden. Ultimately, the gods decided their divinity would be hidden within each human. Within each human is everything we need to escape our bondage. If we're not aware of it, we can't access it. Negativity prevents me from the introspection and keeps me stuck in a cycle of disbelief that my life can improve. It binds me to a mindset of victimhood. Gratitude is the key to shifting my perspective and accepting my circumstances. The truth is that I hold the power within me, and everything I need is already within my reach if I dare to look within. Self-awareness and self-reflection hold tremendous power. Mindfulness is an awesome practice. There's an immense value in simply being without constantly doing. As in the more conventional form of meditation, and also in the value of listening for divinity's guidance. Through meditation, I can refuel and draw strength from the Christ within me, tapping into the power that is rightfully mine. I'm very grateful to her for allowing me to share that because I couldn't say it better than that. The only thing preventing me from accessing that power and finding that truth is always my own fear. It's always my own limitation. The next thing I have to do is give myself grace. Understand that the seeking of truth can be an imperfect process. Being obsessed with perfection is never productive for me. And there was another passage from A Course in Miracles that I felt like said this really well, where it says, error cannot really threaten truth, which can always withstand it. Only the error is actually vulnerable. You are free to establish your kingdom where you see fit, but the right choice is inevitable if you remember this. Spirit is in a state of grace forever. Your reality is only spirit. Therefore, you are in a state of grace forever. What this says to me is if I'm honest in my motivation, if I really am, seeking to know the truth of something and not, we'll get to this in a little bit, not seeking to affirm the truth that I think I already know, then, then I don't have to worry about making a mistake. Because if I keep on with the process and I'm sincere in my desire to continue that learning, then the error will be corrected. And I'm comforted to see that that's also how it works in every other thing that I can observe in the world, where something may go wrong. We may step out of line, or a mistake gets made. As long as we continue the next iteration, it gets smoothed out, it gets corrected. And the next thing I have to do is to examine my values and existing beliefs and ask myself, how can they impact my ability to perceive? Likewise, I need to pay attention to my emotions and really pay attention to what comes up in relation to a piece of information, because that's going to give me insight into what my potential biases might be. Oftentimes, my reaction to a given fact or piece of information um, you know can always be distilled into kind of two different things. Does it make me feel joy, or does it make me feel afraid? And um, that doesn't ever tell me anything about the information itself, but it does tell me about um, those things within me that might feel or be subscribing to this illusion of my vulnerability. Um, and when I'm in that place, I again have to rely on my prayer and meditation practice. I can always take my fears into that space and allow them to be healed before moving on to somewhere something where I take action. So speaking of taking action, the next step is to gather knowledge, ask questions. And it's important that I be fearless and thorough in this process. Um, utilize the self-reflection uh, that's informed by the previous couple of steps. Um, am I asking the right questions? Am I afraid to ask the right questions? Do I know what the right question? Do I need to go back and do more prayer and meditation to know what the right questions are? It can be too easy to only ask the questions that we think are going to give us the answers that we want to hear. You've all probably heard, the three worst falsehoods, lies, damn lies, and statistics. You probably also heard people say numbers don't lie. No, numbers lie all the time based on how we choose to analyze them. You can take the same, and I've seen it. I didn't bring it today because we don't have that kind of time, but the same set of data can be used to prove contradicting statements. While applying like tried and true methods of analysis, it just depends on what you're looking for. You can use the data to find that if you really want to. Um, so that leads me to the next, um, the idea in this gathering of knowledge, which is to be critical of the information as I find it. What is the source of the information? Is it authoritative to um, the topic that I'm trying to find the truth about? Um, in the general world, a good question to ask is, if you know, if the information comes from research, well, who paid for that research? Um, you know, if the information comes from a news source, well, did they get it from somewhere else, or was it their original reporting? Um, and it's extra important to dig in, to exercise that critical eye when, especially when it's saying something that I wanted to say. I think that a lot of times the tendency is to, you know, be super critical if I'm doubtful. Like if it's saying something that I don't know if I really want to believe this, then it's like, well, where did this come from? Is this true? Could this possibly be who's, to do all of that. Whereas if it affirms something that I already want to believe, then it's like, oh yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Um, value corroboration. Multiple sources increase the likelihood of something being the truth. Um, I didn't bring it today. I wanted to find it, but I couldn't find one that really spoke to me. But I've seen this before, where it's um, a tabulation of many of the main religious and spiritual traditions that are being practiced in this world, and each of them, in some way, shape, or form, has what we would refer to as the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And to me, that's the hallmark of something being a truth, is that if it finds its way into everything everywhere in different forms independently, then you know I have to understand that maybe that's something that God needs us all to know. Um, this one was really important to me. I need to consider perspective. The same truth may look different from another angle. Um, there's a great visual representation of this that I'm going to try to explain in words. We'll see how it goes. But, it's a picture of a cylinder hanging in the air. And if you shine a light on it one way, then it makes a rectangle on the wall. If you shine a light on it the other way, it makes a circle on the wall. And depending on which way you're looking at it, you're going to see two different things. But if you look at it in 3 dimensions, you see that it's not a rectangle, it's not a circle, it's a cylinder. So I don't know why, but that seems really important to me, that the actual truth may only be visible if I expand my willingness to look at it into a different dimension. The Course in Miracles also talks about this. It says, as you can hear two voices, so can you see in two ways. One way shows you an image or an idol that you may worship out of fear, but will never love. The other shows you only truth, which you will love because you'll understand it. Understanding is appreciation, because what you understand, you can identify with, and by making it a part of you, you have accepted it with love. This is how God Himself created you, in understanding, in appreciation, and in love. The ego is totally unable to understand this because it does not understand what it makes, does not appreciate it, and does not love it. It incorporates to take away. It literally believes that every time it deprives someone of something, it has increased. Um, there were a couple of things about that I felt really, kind of spoke to this, that there's always this, um, the unlimited nature of that divine love, the unlimited nature um, of creation, and the relationship of gratitude and appreciation to that. Where when I reach that understanding, that knowing the truth, I'm really filled with gratitude. Um, if I'm filled with something else, that's a good sign that what I found isn't true. And the last piece of this, kind of gathering knowledge um, is to remind myself or remember that I might only be seeing a small piece of a larger whole. Um, I've been blessed the last couple of years to be able to sing with the Glacier, or not Glacier, the Missoula Symphony Chorale. And we have the best seats in the house. When we perform together with the symphony, we get to sit right behind the percussion section. And getting to participate as part of a singing group is in and of itself, like I can't go into it too much because we'll be here at 2 o'clock. I'll still be going on about it, but um, one voice singing a beautiful line of notes is wondrous. That our human body can produce that is amazing. When multiple voices get to join together, we get harmony, which affects us in ways that scientists and biologists are still figuring out. And when we get to combine that with a symphony orchestra, just getting to watch the percussionist, you've got 2 or 3 people that are responsible for a dozen or more different instruments. And they're going to play each of them 2 or 3 times over the course of an 8 or 10 or 15-minute piece. They're going back and forth from these drums to this triangle to the cowbell to the xylophone, or keeping track of when they're supposed to play and when they're just going to sit there and watch the rest of the group perform. And then, sitting in the audience, we don't see that piece moving. we get to experience something that's bigger than the sum of its parts. And, that was as good of a metaphor as I could think of. I might only be seeing, the piece where this person is frantic. They're going over here, and trying to do it quietly so they're not tripping. And, but that's not the truth. The truth is the beautiful music that is being heard in the 12th row. Um, so after I'm done gathering knowledge, I have to be willing to accept that the truth may not be what I want it to be. And again, kind of as I said before, this is often going to teach me about me and, and what limitations I'm still clinging to. Um, you know, what fear, what vulnerability I'm still allowing to, limit my connection. Um, and the last is to be comforted that my acceptance of truth will always result in more love and connection. So, um, does it work? I just wanted to share a few of the results that I could think of uh, in a few minutes as I was trying to prepare to last night. Um, so here's some things that I've come to understand. Um, so I've come to understand that my judgments are a tool that my ego uses in an attempt to force an artificial separation. I've come to understand that the pain and suffering that I observe comes not from some nefarious evil or an uncaring and capricious fate, but rather from fear, sickness, and disconnection. I've come to understand that fear is self-defeating, even when it may seem to prevail in the short term. The inherent dishonesty of fear-based constructs leads to their inevitable collapse. Uh, I've come to understand that being willing to ask for help is an expression of strength. Come to understand that gratitude is one of the most powerful expressions of love and that it can heal the damages done by anxiety and fear. Come to understand, or come to the understanding that the will of God includes joy and fulfillment for me and for all of us. My own joy and happiness is only limited by the conditions that I place upon it. Come to understand that I don't need anybody else to do anything any specific way to have the ability to love them. And I've come to understand that love is our birthright, that neither you nor I has ever had or will ever have to do anything to be worthy of it. I'd like to invite you to now join me as we'll do a short meditation and then we'll get out of here. Just want to invite you to allow yourself to relax in your seat as much as you can. Comfortable closing your eyes or just let your gaze kind of unfocus. We allow our breath to just be natural, letting our belly, our abdomen be soft and loose. We don't need to control anything. Just let ourselves be. Let our breath flow freely however it needs to flow. Allow ourselves to exist here, our highest and most loving being. We give gratitude and appreciation to our breath, appreciating how it's always there, how it fuels us, asking nothing in return. We gently allow our focus shift from breath to the beating of our heart, the feeling of life pulsing within us, the feeling of the seat beneath us, the gentle breath of air across our skin. Let our awareness soak in all of the senses of our body now, as we silently affirm to ourselves, I am here now. I am complete. I am whole. I am light. And we envision ourselves being filled with this golden light, warm and radiant. We see it filling every cell of our body and all the spaces in between. We feel it pulsing in intensity along with the gentle rhythm of our heart, our breath. And now, in that space, we connect with that deep inner wisdom and knowledge, the way that we feel in this moment. We have access to the infinite love and truth of our being. We feel the solemn inner knowledge. We affirm to ourselves, I hold the truth of the universe within me. I am deeply wise. I know the answers. I don't need to find them. They are right here within me. Now, let's take a moment to allow space for that divine piece of us to impart any piece of truth we need to know in this moment. If you have a question, you can ask it in this place, or just open up to allow it to flow freely. Now, let's take a moment of attention to accept that truth and give it appreciation. We feel ourselves filled and overflowing with gratitude for the power of the Christ within, the ability to connect with it. And let's give ourselves 3 more relaxed, peaceful, calming breaths. Allow ourselves to come back to this room, to this awareness, this place together with each other. Thank you. So please now join me as we pray together our prayer for protection. It should be on the wall behind me. I'm not going to look because I have absolute trust. Let's see if I can remember. Oh, it's written down here for me. So. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love. The power of God protects us. We are the power. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. We are one. Right, now let's go ahead and form our